I call this meeting of the Hurst-Euless-Bedford Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Good evening to everyone. It's great to see such a big crowd out there. We are going to start this evening with an invocation by Josh Martinez from Uncommon Church. Is Mr. Martinez present? All right, since he doesn't appear to be here, I'm going to ask that we will ask Tracy Coburn, I'm sorry, Tracy Coburn from Six Stones to lead us in an invocation. Yeah, I just completely blanked out.
Thank you. If you'll bow your heads with me. Father God, thank you for January. Thank you for the quiet and the cold, and that reminds us that this is a time to quieten our spirits and to listen to you and to listen to other people and not be so busy and frantic as we are so many other times. Thank you, Father, for this school board. Thank you for these parents and concerned citizens who are here. Thank you for the students who all of this is for. And Father, we just praise your name and thank you for everything you've given us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. And next we are going to have a Pledge of Allegiance, and the pledge will be led this evening by two students from Bel Air Elementary. We have Distingue Rose Linzingu and Susanna Secundino. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your names. I apologize.
The flag is right over here.
Yeah, Americans right over here, and allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. All right, evening. All right, ladies, so if you stay right up here, we're going to read a little bit about you, and we have some certificates to give to you.
So Distingue Rose is an AB honor student at Bel Air. She has attended Bel Air Elementary since pre-K in Mrs. Pomeroy's class. Distingue has been helping with morning duties, such as raising the flag and taking them down at the end of the day and doing safety patrol. She's been doing this since the second day of school. She's also a member of our morning news crew. She is the first president of the Bel Air Student Council, and we should hear great things about this young lady.
And parents, you can feel free to come up and take a picture in the center if you want to get a good picture right now.
Susanna is a blooming artist. Her designs can be found posted weekly on a bulletin board to highlight the teacher spotlight. She is also a member of the Bel Air Student Council and actively performs morning duties as well. She's also a member of the Bel Air News Crew. Susanna is well respected by her classmates and staff at school. When asked what she would like to do when she grows up, I love this part. She said she wants to be a teacher. We're proud to have this model student at Bel Air.
All right. Thank you so much for being here this evening. We appreciate you coming and doing the pledge for us. Thanks.
Thank you, girls. You're precious.
Tonight, the Board of Trustees is meeting in its regularly scheduled monthly meeting to officially act on the items included on the posted agenda. The board welcomes and appreciates comments and input from the community. Open forum is provided at each meeting to allow the public to address the board. There will be two open forums tonight. Open forum number 1 is to hear requests regarding agenda items only. Open forum number 2 is to hear requests or make comments regarding non-agenda items and will be heard at the end of the meeting. Those addressing the board are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes per meeting. The speaker should identify his or her name, group affiliation if any, and make a brief presentation with an identified solution if one is sought. Remarks should be addressed to the board as a whole. Oral presentations may not include charges against any employee or board member by name. It is my responsibility to determine if the person addressing the board has attempted to resolve a concern informally or through the district's complaint policies. If not, the speaker will be directed to follow the appropriate policy. The board requests that all presentations be made in a courteous, respectful, and professional manner and asks that speakers monitor their own behavior. If you wish to speak during one of the open forums, please fill out one of the cards located on the table in the entry hall. All right, superintendent's comments. Dr. Harrington.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out a couple of our bands that have qualified for not competitions, but just for some performances. The Central Junior High Symphonic Band and the Central Junior High Percussion Ensemble and the L.D. Bell Wind Ensemble were all selected to perform at the Music for All National Festival in Indianapolis at the end of this month. Wow.
Yeah. And I'm personally looking forward to attending those concerts. I do have a daughter playing in the LD Bell band this year, so we're going to go and stay for the whole thing. Bell plays on Friday, Bell plays on Friday, and Central plays on Sunday. So we're going to stay for the whole weekend and make a getaway out of it. So
Wonderful.
all right. Any clarifications?
No clarifications at this time.
Okay. All right. This time we will review the board activity chart. I'll start with Ms. Dawn Jordan Wells.
Only thing I can think of would be I attended the HEB Chamber Awards luncheon last week. Yeah, last week, which was really nice. I hadn't been able to get out and attend those in a while, and that one was a really good one to attend.
All right.
I too attended the awards luncheon. It was great, and that night went to the LD Bell football banquet. I will say this isn't taking any way from other banquets that I've been to, but it's one of the best banquets I've ever been to. The energy in the room, the Booster Club, Coach Dibble, it was one of the best banquets. Every single person in the room was celebrated. Every single person, and I just love that the boys were, the football players were respectful and they were excited, and it was just really, it was delightful. I loved it. So thanks to Mr. Belcher and Coach Dibble for the invite and everything that they did to make those boys feel really special.
Ms. Cole?
So we haven't met since before the holidays. So one of the things that I got to participate in was the Santa in the helicopter visiting the schools. So on day 2, I was lucky enough to ride with Darla Clark and Holly Norgard. And they were dressed as elves. I was dressed as myself. And we had a great time. Seeing all those kids and the joy in their eyes when Santa lands and the chaos that ensues, it was fantastic. I also attended the chamber luncheon, and I wanted to mention that for that luncheon, there are people that are nominated for individual awards, and Rochelle Ross was one of those nominees, so I want to be sure and let everyone know that. On Wednesday, the day of the banquet, I also attended Lead HEB. They had a combined Year 1 and Year 2 Skills Expo. And while I couldn't stay for the whole thing because I had to run to a banquet, I did get to sit in on a session that was led by Conrad Streeter, where he modeled some leadership practices in communication that were fantastic. And then I also got to sit in and participate in a session led by Kira Elledge and Lisa Carr and Mark on modeling technology, using technology in a fun way. And then attended the Trinity banquet. And the fun thing that was about the Trinity football banquet this year, that Coach Lineweaver incorporated the other student groups. So as the players were coming in with their parents and their dates to the banquet, the drum corps was performing out front, and then once inside, before the banquet started, the step team performed, and then they did all the awards and all the things that they normally do, and then at the end, the Poly Club danced. So it was really well-rounded with all the other student groups. And then the last thing I attended on Saturday morning, the city of Bedford did a grand opening and ribbon cutting of their new Bedford Center at Generations Park at Boys Ranch. If you haven't seen that, please go see it. It's amazing.
Mr. Campos.
Not to repeat some of the other things that were mentioned, committees. I got to see, which is wonderful, the fairly large committee of both community members as well as staff that go through and make the hard choices regarding our district calendar. It was kind of neat to see that in action. Attended the district spelling bee. Amazing students that we have that are spellers. I won't tell you which round I was out in, but it didn't last very long. And then attended one of the committees for looking ahead in the future. You'll probably hear more about it, about dual languages, that I thought board was really interesting to see what's coming ahead for our district.
All right, well, one event that I did get to attend, and every spring, I think, several thousand kids from around the area try out for our all-region bands from 9th through 12th grade. And those who make the all-region bands, they have a whole, well, it's a day and a half that they work with a clinician and put together a concert. And I was happy to go and watch several bands perform this last Friday night. They just do a fantastic job. Those kids are very talented, and they're from all over the area, but we did have probably at least 30 or 40 from, no? 85, okay. 85 kids in all region from HEB, so it was great to see them. I got to see 3 of the bands perform, and they all were fantastic, so congratulations to all those students and to all those band directors. All right, I'd like to say a quick thanks to our greeters this evening. You may have noticed 2 students in green blazers as you entered tonight. These students are part of the HEB ISD Student Ambassador Program, which is a select group of students chosen through an application and interview process to be the face of the district. They are trained to assist with public relations and communication services and are given the opportunity to positively promote HEB ISD while developing leadership skills. Tonight we have Julie Eiserman, a junior at LD Bell, and Matthew Boyd, a junior at Trinity. Good evening. Thank you for being here. Every meeting, we like to ask the students a question. And the question this week is, how has your time as a student ambassador informed or changed your opinion of leadership, and how will this serve you after high school?
Hello, my name is Julie Eiserman, and I'm a first-year student ambassador. I'm a junior from LD Bell High School, where I like to play the violin in the orchestra and on the soccer team with my friends. Since becoming an ambassador, I've learned that the opportunities in this program can be both enriching and challenging. Learning to lead others includes learning to lead myself. Mrs. Royer and Mr. Pena have dedicated much time over the past year to developing our strengths, and my individual strengths include leadership. They include responsibility, consistency, harmony, developer, and learner. Understanding the beginning of leadership encourages me to utilize these strengths to initiate change within myself and therefore those around me. So to me, leadership is learning. It's accessing the opportunities around me so that I can develop skills along the way. Whenever I have the chance to participate in any event for this program, I'm thrilled by the commitment, the cooperation, and the cooperation and the responsibility behind these district's leaders. These events inspire me to learn more from you, from our community, our schools, and how I can make a difference. While I like to think that my high school graduation is years and years away, it's quickly approaching. However, my time as an ambassador has given me a glimpse of the roles I hope to fulfill in the future. I hope to take this experience and apply the knowledge and experiences I have gained to create connections with our leaders such as you, and to continue to learn how I can welcome change in our world. Thank you.
Hello. Ooh. Hello, my name is Matthew Boyd. I am a IB junior at Trinity High School, where I participate in band, where I march, saxophone, and concert instrument. I play bassoon. And beyond what you asked about for leadership, this program has given me a greater appreciation for everything that goes on behind the scenes of any HEB event, such as convocation or any luncheons that go on. I get to see how committed all the teachers and staff and all of you guys are to making HEB a better place for our students and our staff. But this program hasn't necessarily changed my opinion of leadership, though it has widened what I view of what I think about when I think of the word leader. It has changed. When I think of the word leader, I used to associate it to the boss or the person that is in charge, such as Dr. Harrington or President Matt Romero, but now the view is widened. When I think of leader, I think of who a leader is. I think of who they can be and who they are right now. And while, yes, all of you guys are leaders, there are also leaders within this room. I have a couple of past teachers in here, actually. I see 3, 4, maybe, that are in here from Harwood. And those are leaders as well. There are leaders within Trinity, and there are student leaders as well, such as students that are involved in clubs or extracurriculars at school. I personally am on the band council for Trinity, and I get to help plan different events that go on throughout the year. But beyond all that, I have learned through this program that I myself am a leader. I've learned that when I'm wearing this green coat or when I'm just attending school, I have the opportunity to lead my peers and those around me. And so I've learned that a leader doesn't have to be someone who's in a leadership position. It can be anyone who has the desire to make a positive difference in the world. And knowing this will serve me in my high school and beyond when I apply to college and do interviews for medical school or for other job applications. I have learned what my strengths and what my weaknesses are, and that knowing that will help me stand out among all the other applicants. So I want to say thank you to everybody in this room and the board members, Mr. Pena and Ms. Royer, for giving me this opportunity and for teaching me a little bit more about myself and who I am as a leader. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julie and Matthew. Those are fantastic answers, and thank you for being leaders in HEB. Thank you. All right, next we have School Board Recognition Month. Ms. Hollander.
I just have to take a second. That was amazing. Great job, kids. I love that. Okay, it is January, and January is School Board Recognition Month. This month set aside gives us the opportunity just to pause and thank you guys for what you do each and every day. Our theme this year is Forward Together, and we want each of you to feel appreciated, and we want each of you to know that we appreciate the time and the time away from your family and even the personal time that you lose because of the dedication to this district. So each year our departments and our campuses find many different ways to show their appreciation for you. You will find many items back in the board conference room, and we thought that getting work done around here was pretty important, and you might not have had enough space on your dais. But this year we have a special in-person presentation by our special needs students of the MARC program. And so I want to invite Renee Reek up here for a moment, and I'm going to let her share one of the presentations.
Okay. All right. You guys want to come up? Jessica, Tim. So this is from our MARC program. These are our adult students that go out in the community and work at different places, learning job skills, and they have been working on some artwork recently. So this is Tim Lawrence. He's one of our teachers, and we have Parker Buckholes, who's one of our students. And so the students put this together, and the colors on HEB represent each of the schools in the district. We also have Jessica, come up here. We also have Jessica Jacks, who's another one of our teachers in the adult program.
Parker, did you have fun making that? Yes. Did good.
Well, you all did a great job.
They were very excited to do it. Is that good?
Okay, I now would like to introduce Mark Chandler, our Director of Visual and Performing Arts, and there's another in-person student presentation.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Hullard. Good evening, Board. And speaking as someone who has taught and worked in several school districts, there are none better than you guys. So there are not enough words to say how much we appreciate you all. And I really appreciate what our ambassador said about their leadership skills. Wow, what a great opportunity. So please notice the artwork around this room. What a great piece that our special ed kids did. What a wonderful thing that is. That's fantastic. But I know there are several things back in the boardroom and some videos and things that our kids have sent you. So we hope you will enjoy. Now, our special presentation this evening is pretty short, but I'm going to turn it over to Candace Harris, who is our theater director at LD Bell, and let her take it from here. Candace?
Hello, everyone. Every year, LD Bell High School Theater travels to the Texas Thespian Festival and compete against students from across the state. These two students who will be performing for you today were awarded perfect scores from their category, which was monologues. So, they also have the opportunity to travel to Indiana to compete against students from across the globe. We perform for you tonight in appreciation for all you do, for students, for faculty, staff, for everyone, and all your hard work and support for our program, without which none of this will be possible. So tonight, each student will perform one of their two monologues. Without further ado, Walter Onkonga and Ryan Ingram. We're performing this way.
Give me a break, I'm a little nervous. Hi, my name is Walter Onkonga, and today I will perform a monologue from Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare. And I happily and respectfully represent the troop 9, 4, 9. Friends, Romans countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil that men do lives out in them. The good is often interred with their bones, so let it be with Caesar. The noble Brutus had told you Caesar was ambitious. If it was so, it was a grievous fault, and grievously high Caesar answered it. Here, under leave of Brutus and the press, for Brutus is an honorable man, and so they all honorable men, come at his speak in Caesar's funeral. He was my friend, faithful and just. For Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. I speak not to disprove what Brutus spoke, but here I am to speak what I do know. You all did love him once, not without cause. What cause would hold you then to mourn for him? Oh, judgment! Thou art fled to Brutus' beast, and men have lost their reason. Bear with me. My heart is in the coffin, there with Caesar. And I must pause till it come back to me.
Hello, my name is Ryan Ingram, and I will be performing a monologue from A Midsummer Night's Dream by William Shakespeare. I proudly represent LD
fantastic job. Fantastic.
Gotta recover.
I do think you're the first one ever to be on the floor in front of them.
There's a first time for everything.
Hey, can we get a picture with all three of them up there?
Yes.
I have a whole, like, BA in theater. I went to college and I'm not that good. Oh, my gosh.
Thank you.
There you go. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all so much. We January is always a fun meeting because of this, but on behalf of the board, I just want to say it's always just such a great, really an honor and a privilege for each of us to serve on this board and to represent this community. And we're all just very proud of the work we get to do with Dr. Harrington and the work that this district does for all of our students. So we're just proud to be part of it. So thank you so much. Next, we're going to have the Texas Assistant Principal of the Year Award.
Okay, I would like to invite up to the podium. It is Archie McAfee, who is the Executive Director of the Texas Association for Secondary School Principals, and he has a special presentation to make.
And you want me to follow? That was amazing. It really was. It really was. So my hat's off to HEB for having such outstanding students. So members of the board, Superintendent Harrington, it's truly an honor for me to be here this evening representing over 6,000 secondary school principals and assistant principals in Texas to honor Jana Clark. She is the Assistant Principal of the Year for 2022-2023, and she is Assistant Principal at Harwood Middle School in HEB. Now, this past June, Jana was selected by her peers as the Region 11 Middle Level Assistant Principal of the Year. In December, the TASSP Principals Image Committee selected Jana as the 2022-2023 Assistant Principal of the Year for secondary. Jana has distinguished herself as a leader among secondary school principals in Texas, and this award is indicative of her contributions to the improvement of Harwood Junior High School. And Jana is a respected member of our association. Now, as executive director, I'm not permitted to participate in the selection process of the Principals of the Year, but I do take the liberty of reading the applications because I am always interested in knowing what principals and assistant principals are doing to help their students to be successful. And my favorite part of the application are the letters of recommendation, because the letters of recommendation give a close-up and personal view of the person. And as I read the letters of recommendation that had been submitted on Jana's behalf, a simple theme became very evident, a theme based on what I call the 3 C's of educational leadership: care, compassion, and commitment for all students. And I'd like to share a portion of one of the letters of recommendation that was written by a former student, Amira Mathenican. Jana told me she calls her AM. So AM wrote a letter of recommendation for Jana, and I'd like to share part of it with you. She says, I want to recommend Miss Jana Clark for the 2022-2023 TASSP Assistant Principal of the Year Award for 22-23. Mrs. Clark not only is an amazing assistant principal, but an overall outstanding woman. I first met Ms. Clark at the beginning of my 8th grade year, not overthinking her and really only seeing her as someone doing her job. As the year progressed, it turns out this year would end up being one of the hardest years for me. Mrs. Clark turned out to not just be a woman that was doing her job, but someone who actually cared about my well-being and honestly wanted to know what was going on so she could try to help me. At first, I gave her a hard time. Looking back, I think it was, I was testing to see if she really cared about me or if it was for show. She continued to show up for me each day, even at my worst. She never turned her back on me and showed me that even though I felt like the faculty and staff did not care about the students, I was wrong. Eventually, I started to open up to her, telling her what was wrong, and she genuinely wanted to help. This made me gain respect for her that I didn't have for anyone else. Coming into my 9th grade year, things went so much smoother for me. My attitude was better, my grades were improving, and I felt like my life had changed course for the better. Ms. Clark made sure that I got the help I needed to have a successful year for me and my friends. She attended my award ceremonies and classes. She even still has this selfie that we took together hanging in her office when AM was the 9th grade student of the month. She says I could always feel her rooting for me and believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. And she concludes her letter by saying, Ms. Clark started talking to me about college when I was in the 8th grade. At that time, I thought she had lost her mind. Me in college, and now look at me, enrolled in classes and attending my first year at Tarrant County College. I know she will be there to watch me walk across the stage at my graduation. She will probably be yelling, "I told you so," at the top of her lungs. She has done such an amazing job encouraging me to pursue higher education and helping me believe in myself. She has helped mold me into the person I am today, and I know she is proud to watch me grow into the woman she has always told me I could be. She says I love her so very much and would recommend her for our State Assistant Principal of the Year because she deserves to be recognized for her hard work and dedication for our community. Signed, AM. So Jana, will you please come up here? Bring him up here with you. Jana, this plaque, Jana, for your care, compassion, and commitment for all students, please accept this plaque on behalf of TASSP. And the plaque reads, selected for her willingness to take risks to help students, selected for her willingness to her ability to anticipate and solve problems, and her success in improving the school's learning environment. Congratulations again for being the TASSP Assistant Principal of the Year. You're truly living out our motto, which is above all, students first. So congratulations, Jana. Thank you for allowing TASSP to be a part of this celebration.
Thank you, and thank you for being here tonight. Thank you. Congratulations, Ms. Clark. Well deserved.
I know, leave the baby here.
He likes the attention.
Yeah. He's like us, basically.
All right, next we're going to hear from Tracy Coburn from Six Stones, the Dashing for Hope recognition.
Well, I don't come with heartwarming stories like what you've just experienced, but I brought the biggest trophy. So I'm going to set that up there for right now. All right, so Dashing for Hope is a program that Six Stones does to fund our Night of Hope program. And Night of Hope allows students who are in the free lunch program at HEB ISD to receive Christmas gifts and Christmas dinner for every child in their family. It's a wonderful program, and this year we helped over 3,300 students to receive that. And what we do to raise money for that is an obstacle course race. And we invite the 3 cities that we serve, we invite HEB ISD, and we invite our sponsor, Classic Chevrolet. And so they race against each other, and it's kind of amazing. I was telling Miguel that it was fun watching everybody turn into little kids again, right? But it actually showed me why HEB ISD is as good as they are. Because they did win this year, but they won because of their teamwork. And it was remarkable to watch it. Patrick Lencioni said, if you could get all the people in the organization rowing in the same direction, you could dominate any industry in any market against any competition at any time. And that's what I saw with HEB ISD, was the teamwork. They're rowing in the same direction, and that is the way you guys run your programs. That is the way you run your schools. And so we're just so grateful that you guys are part of Six Stones and what we do for kids, and that what you guys do for kids. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Teresa. We appreciate it, and congratulations to HEB for the big win.
Let's get one with Dr. Harrington, yeah.
You represent us. There were team members that won this. Who was on the team? Not all.
Yeah.
We got some good pictures that morning. Oh, okay. We got some really good pictures that morning.
All right. Thank you. Next, we will be looking at the Government Finance Association and Association of School Board Officials Awards to Business Operations. Ms. Oliver.
Absolutely. Okay, HEB ISD has once again received the GFOA and the ASBO awards for financial reporting for the 19th year in a row. We want to take this time to recognize our business operations tonight for another successful year. And Janice Hollingsworth, if you would join me up here. The GFOA of the United States and Canada has awarded the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence for Financial Reporting to our district because of its annual comprehensive financial report in the fiscal year that ended August the 31st of 2021. The Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in the area of governmental accounting and reporting, and its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by government and its management. HEB ISD Business Operations has also received the Certificate of Excellence from ASBO that ended in 2021. This award represents a significant achievement and reflects the commitment to transparency and the high quality of financial reporting. Both of these certificates communicate to our community the excellence in our business operations, and it gives our community another reason to trust HEB ISD. So thank you, Business Operations, and thank you, Janice, for all that you have done. Dr. Harrington? Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Hollingsworth, and thank you, Mr. Williams, and the entire finance and business operations team. We know it's a huge amount of effort goes into it, but we really appreciate that you guys do such a great job. Next, we will be presenting certificates of appreciation to those who have made donations over the past month. I will turn it over to Ms. Ross.
So tonight our grand total is $1,005.49, and as always, we want to thank our nonprofits, our faith-based, and all of our community partners for everything they do. Board member Fred Campos will present a certificate to Blackbaud Giving Fund to Central Junior High for $505.49, and the donation will be used to help with expenses for Central Junior High Band Department. And Ms. Cumberledge, is Ms. Cumberledge here? Yes, Ms. Morgan. And are you Miss, okay. They had Miss Cumberledge, but this is Miss Morgan, the assistant principal at Central Junior High. The next certificate will be presented by Board Secretary Julie Cole. It is from the Cotton Bowl Foundation to Donna Park Elementary. It's a $500 donation, which will be used to fund student and school needs throughout the year. Is Miss McAvoy here? Who's here? Miss Gowan? Oh, and Miss McAvoy. Look, she was hiding.
Thank you so much. The board sincerely appreciates donations from so many community members, and we like to recognize those every month just to make sure that everybody understands how much we appreciate those. We are ready for open forum number 1. All right, the first speaker will be Crystal Sadler. Just a reminder that once you get up to the podium, 3 minutes will show up on the overhead screen.
You expect me to say under minutes? What?
We should know better.
Good evening, everyone. Of course, y'all all remember me, Crystal Sadler, with the HEB ISD Council of PTA. I am actually not here as a president. Yes. But I am here on behalf of the Clothes Closet. So we know that the Clothes Closet is near and dear to the council's heart, to all of your hearts. It has been tremendous this year. We have gotten so much donations, so many people coming in. But we are here today because the Elementary Principal Social Committee, in honor of all of you for School Board Appreciation Month, has made a donation of $140 to the Clothes Closet on your behalf, in honor of you, because we all know how dear it is to all of our hearts, and we just thank you for always supporting us, all of PTA items that we do. We'll stop myself there, but for the Clothes Closet tidbit, I'm going to throw this in really quick. We have started a new program that they are actually able to register themselves to be seen and make appointments themselves. Within 12 hours, there were over 105 appointments made. We are booked out till March. So that is where this money is going. We are putting programs together to be able to see more and more families. So thank you for all that you do. Thank you for always supporting us. And just wanted you to know that the elementary principals did make that donation on your behalf. So thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Crystal.
And everyone mark that down.
All right. And our second speaker will be Teresa Large.
I will make mine short and sweet, but I do want to say it's my privilege tonight to present this token of appreciation to the board, HEB ISD School Board. Personally, I want to thank you for all that you do to support teachers and staff throughout the district, having been a teacher now for 20 years and attending board meetings for almost that long. I do see the work that you do, and I appreciate it very much. Actually, here is the proclamation of appreciation. On this day, January 23rd, 2023, United Educators Association of HEB declares its appreciation for the dedication and service of the Board of Trustees. Your contribution and service to our district and community cannot be overstated. So in recognition, UEA HEB has donated in your name $100 to the HEB ISD Education Foundation and $100 to Six Stones. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate you myself. Thank you. I'm going to let you have
Thank you so much. At this time, we will be adjourning to closed session. So pursuant to Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, the board will adjourn to closed session pursuant to sections 551.071 to 551.074. All right, at this time, the board is back in open session. Item 9.01, does anybody on the board have anything from the consent agenda they'd like to remove? Then I will accept a motion on the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Please vote. And that motion passes. All right, item 10.01, report on employments, resignations, and retirements. Were there any questions on this report? All right, disbursements for the month of December 2022. Any questions on disbursements? All right, then we are ready to hear about district benchmark assessment. Dr. Norgard.
I'm not sure her microphone is on.
Grades 3 through 6. Our grades 3 through 6. I never know. I hear my own voice just fine. Grades 3 through 6, Science DBA 1. So this is related to our strategic plan in the areas of meets and master's grade level on STAR. I mentioned that you may not have heard without the microphone, but this is the first time that we are reporting on this test. Science STAR is only administered in grades 5 and 8, and then there's a biology EOC. But when it's tested in those grades, it's actually including TEKS that have been taught across several grades. So previously, we have just done the DBAs in the years that they're going to take STAR. But based on some discussion, and Dr. Sally Scoggins, our science coordinator, is here tonight as well, we were looking at how could we assess those TEKS in the year of instruction to see if there's something we need to do differently in third grade to solidify third grade TEKS for the fifth grade STAR, for example. So instead of a full-length DBA, we call these a partial, similar. You probably recall as I talk about the math DBA 1 in elementary school that it's shorter. We're building stamina, but it's not the full length of the test. So this was a partial DBA, and this was our first year in doing this test. We do have new item types on science. None of them are different than what you have seen previously, but I did include some examples just so you could see what these new item types might look like in the area of science. So text entry, where they have to type an answer. Hotspot, where they have to click on something, and in particular, this is a hotspot and a multi-select because they've got to pick 2 areas on that circuit. Drag and drop, where they're going to pull the answers down into the right spots. Multi-part, where they have to get the first part correct in order to score any points on the second part. Multi-select, they need to choose more than one answer. And short constructed response. So we talked a bit more about constructed responses in ELA, but these short constructed responses are also in science and social studies. So all of those new item types are also being represented in the DBAs that our students are taking in order to rehearse these types of items. So when we look at the results, like I mentioned, there's no cohort history or anything since this is the first time we're administering these tests. So you can see the results at 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. But since among these grades, only 5th grade is a STAR-tested grade, that's where we have our performance objective targets. So you will see that in that grade, we are exceeding our targets at this point in the year. A little hard to tell as the others go up and down exactly what that means for us because we don't specifically have those targets, but our science team is looking into that performance, making connections, what else can we do, and of course our campuses are also digging into that data for their particular classes. So what we're doing is an instructional focus. When it's 5th grade and we know that they're looking at a STAR test here in a couple of months, those results are informing for that teacher, here's what we need to provide intervention. It's informing for our science department what they might need to supply additional lessons or support, that small group instruction. But 3rd, 4th, and 6th, they're using the information from this assessment in that first year to really look and say, okay, do I need to do more with circuits in this grade so that by the time we get to where it's tested, we have a stronger foundation? So all of that data is being used in that way. Do you have any questions? Okay.
Do they look at the data of, I really appreciated you putting in these types of questions. So do they look at the data and say, you know, oh, I'm having the most trouble, or the students are having more trouble on drag and drop than anything else?
So they are doing different types of analysis. I talked with Dr. Scoggins just this afternoon where we were looking at an item type that maybe in a common formative assessment that they had done in class had been a multiple choice. And how did it look on this DBA? It was multi-select or multi-part? It was a multi-select. And so kind of looking at does the format of the item, it was to very similar content. So they are looking at those kinds of things.
Okay, good.
Dr. Norgard, you said that this is a partial DBA. Typically, how long is that?
I'm going to look to Dr. Scoggins. In time, length of time or number of items?
Length, well, actually both, if you know both, but more I was asking length
so
of time.
we had suggested the time was 2 hours. Now, the state has said with the redesign that they will not cut off the time for STAR if a student needs all day, so we're back to that. We had previously been untimed, and then we had time limits. With the new redesign, it's untimed, but we had given some structure of how long we anticipated the test would take, and this was 2 hours. The number of questions vary by grade level.
We tried to cut it in half. So we tried it in 5th grade, or for 3rd, 4th, we tried to do half of the tested questions in 5th grade, and for 6th grade, we did half of what's on the 8th grade. So we tried to mirror that and just do.
Okay. So just also for anyone at home to be sure they heard without the microphone. So approximately half the length of the test. It's also important the length of the test is not just the number of items anymore, it's the number of points. Because these new items, like I mentioned, that multi-part, it's a 2-point question. If I get part A right and B wrong, I get 1 point. If I get A wrong and B right, I get 0 points. Or if I get them both, I get 2. So length of test just kind of has a little bit different meaning that we're all starting to wrap our heads around, because it's not how many questions, it's how many points, because a question worth more points is expected to take more time. Anything else?
So where do you find the targets for something like this where you don't have a lot of history and other tests to look at?
So our team looks at, we always start with those released from TEA. We start with the release STAR, and then TEA has released certain versions for the STAR redesign. That's where I'm pulling examples that I'm giving for you and looking for patterns. We've been to trainings with Region 11. Each of our coordinators also has area meetings where they get together with science coordinators from surrounding districts, et cetera, where they share resources. They may pool some writing times, but a lot of it is digging into the questions, looking for patterns, and then how can we emulate those patterns.
All right.
Every year we'll have a little more
Yeah.
to go on, but it's very new right now.
Kind of have to have a
You got to have a
pattern.
runway.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right. Now we're here at technology update. Dr. Hopkins.
Good evening. How are you?
Good.
I am thrilled to present to you and talk with you about the work that we are doing in the technology department this school year. As you know, we have rolled out devices to students. We have worked with teachers, and part of our work right now is intentionally designing how we use technology in the classroom to support the work of our curriculum department, to support our test scores, and to ensure that all engagement with our technology is active and engaged work with our technology. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is about how our instructional technology team is working with our teachers and with the curriculum department to make the biggest impact in learning using our devices. So this is in alignment with Strategic Plan Goal 1, student achievement, and achieve the highest academic rating for the district. The mission of the HEB Instructional Technology Department is to promote the growth of technology in and beyond the classroom through active and engaged learning. And we have an awesome team that works each and every day to meet the needs of our teachers. These are all the boots on the ground, essentially, but these are the people who work to meet the needs of our teachers, our curriculum department, and work directly with our students if we need to coach and model how to use technology in the classroom. What we're talking about today is specifically part of the work of Jeff Blankenship. He's one of our elementary coaches. He brought visible learning to our team and talked about how we can integrate it into the work of our department and into the work of our district, as you're going to hear from Lauren Allen after me, where she'll talk about some of John Hattie's research as well. So, excuse me, what we started talking about was the work of John Hattie. John Hattie is a researcher, and he looked at thousands of research projects and research papers that individuals had written to try to determine what's the best for learning and what's the best for education, essentially. And John came up with a list of 320 factors or interventions that are influential to student achievement. And in looking at this list, he decided some factors were really influential and some really didn't move the needle when we look at student learning. So what he did is he decided, hey, we're going to put a marker on this work, and he called it an effect size of 0.4. So a 0.4 indicator would tell you if you have an effect size of 0.4 or greater, it's going to average a year's worth of growth for a student. So just making it a little easier to look at, anything that's 0 or less is going to have decreased achievement. Anything that has 0.40 or more is going to have all of our desired effects. So in HEB ISD, we want to be looking at interventions and instructional strategies that are 0.04 or greater to know that we are working in alignment with our student growth. So one of the things that we have started doing with our instructional technology team is looking at the strategies for integration, correlating those to an effect size, and then assigning the digital tools that we have available to that. So, for example, you can look at this list, and we know that summarization is already a strategy that we're using in our classrooms. The curriculum department already has that work going with our teachers. So our job as instructional technology is to partner with that work. We know it has an effect size of 0.74, and here for the teachers are some technologies they can use to add a digital component to summarization. So they can use Flip, Canvas Studio, Kami. Another example is Jigsaw method. A 1.20, that is a high effect strategy. It has a lot of instructional gains. And then here are some technology tools that we have that we teach teachers how to use with the Jigsaw method. So our goal with instructional technology is to ensure that when we move from paper pencil into using digital tools, that we're still seeing the same gains and achievement for our students that we would have seen in our traditional method of paper, pencil, and our stations. So that way when we incorporate technology and make it all fit together, we can still see those intentional gains. So you're like, well, that's great, but how might we be using this in HEB in our trainings? So one thing that we're working on is whenever we train a teacher, we have the following slides that you're about to see. So our instructional department has strategies to consider when using, and then fill in the blank for whatever we're training on. So strategies to consider when using student discussions or formative assessment. Then we will provide the high effect strategies, a definition of that strategy, and the effect size so that they can see how it all fits together. Teachers are given a copy of our presentation, and then they can click on those links, and it will take them to a website that shares with them more information about each of those strategies so that they can see how to incorporate that into their classroom more seamlessly and flawlessly. We also know that teacher clarity has a 0.84 effect size, so as long as our teachers understand, we're already using this strategy in our classrooms. This is a strategy we use with our students to make sure that students understand what the objective of learning is for the day. So we're modeling that practice by making sure that our teachers understand what their learning is in our professional development sessions. So we help them understand what they're learning, why they're learning it, and how they'll know when they learned it or when they're able to effectively integrate it into their classroom. And finally, the main thing that we're working with our teachers on is making sure that they understand that technology in the classroom should be intentional it should support our curriculum, and it should be an active and engaged learning opportunity. Do you have any questions?
Any questions from the board?
Thank you very much.
I personally appreciate this outlook on technology because it's so easy to get into the trap of just doing technology for technology's sake and saying that's what everybody else is doing, so that's what we have to do. But having a curriculum-based focus on technology is very important. Okay, department spotlight on special ed. Oh, sorry. Skip, sorry, my fault. 3rd to 5th grade summer school effectiveness update. Ms. Al.
Hi, good evening. This fall, I presented to you the results of a study we'd completed on the effectiveness of our kindergarten through 2nd grade summer school programming. And tonight, I'm bringing you a counterpart to that, and will be the results of a study of the effectiveness of our 3rd through 5th grade summer school programming. Much of the research base was the same, so I won't go through all of the background research that I did with you last time. We'll just get straight into the results of this. So this time, instead of kindergartners through 2nd graders, we were looking at our 3rd through 5th graders, and specifically those who met eligibility to attend summer school based on having a failing performance on one or more of either their end-of-year report card in reading or math, the DBA and the STAR in either reading or math. So some students were eligible to attend for one or the other. Some students were eligible to attend summer school for both. And how we measured the effectiveness of the summer school programming for these grades were the MAP, the NWEA MAP that we started giving last year in both reading and mathematics. And so here are some scatter plots like what I showed you with our kindergarten through 2nd grade programming. And so what you can see here are those blue dots are representing those students who were eligible to attend summer school, but for whatever reason chose not to attend. And the orange dots are representing students who were eligible and who did attend summer school. And like before, if our summer school programming were truly effective, what we would like to see are those students who attended summer school being higher above that line, showing that while maybe they were struggling at the end of the year, they're now scoring up higher. And what you can see here is very similar to our kindergarten through 2nd grade, where there's no clear distinguishable differences between the groups. There's just a giant overlap. So this slide is showing our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade math scores, and then this slide is showing our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade reading comparisons. And again, here we see just no distinguishable groups. They're just completely overlapping with each other. So based on these results from our kindergarten through 2nd grade and then our 3rd through 5th grade summer school programming, we decided again to kind of look into if what we're doing isn't working, what does work. And so as Lindsay pointed out to you, I'm also going to be discussing visible learning and John Hattie. So most of us in this are probably a little familiar with his work. He does a lot in education. Yes.
Was there a cost to go to summer school, or was it free? I can't remember.
I believe summer school is free. Yes, okay. And so I'll get more into John Hattie in a second. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. But so we used lots of different academic research to look into different things that do work. And one of the things I think I mentioned last time, just as much as providing reading lessons is just reading with students is one of the greatest drivers of academic achievement. So one of the things we've discussed for our kindergartners through 2nd graders is simply having a library time for those students. So with the idea of tying it to campuses with summer dining, students can come in the morning, get their breakfast, and then we'll provide them with a time to read with an adult. One of the other highly effective strategies was also having just like volunteer adults to read with them. So one of the things we've discussed is this could include teachers beyond the core content teachers. So previously, summer school has really been driven towards inviting content area teachers to teach. A PE teacher can sit down and read with a child the same way anybody else can. And so this would be a way to include some more of our teachers as well. Another idea is to have an art time and a music and movement time with those students. Really give them a positive experience to tie to school so that when they come to school in the fall, it's not a scary place. It's a place where they had fun, where they were loved, and where they had a good time. We're given breakfast and given lunch. So, and then also in addition to this, we want to tie in an HEB Counts program with our HEB Reads. Gary Adcox already has fabulous work that she is ready to give out at our HEB Reads event this May. She has some great games with instructions for parents that can just be handed out. It's ready to go. I already have a few of them, and I'm looking forward to doing them with my daughter and my son. So that's our kindergarten through second grade proposal. For third through fifth grade, our suggestion is to have teacher-created courses, but with the stipulation that they are tied to some of those intentional categories that are aligned to John Hattie's top influences, and I'll get into a little bit further detail about that in just a second. The courses would be chosen by a committee of the curriculum staff, so they would not be specifically tied to TEKS, but more just learning foundations and problem solving, those types of things. An additional thing we wanted to add was to have one academic field trip per week. So going to the Fort Worth Science Museum, the Pro Museum, the Fort Worth Zoo, some of those other experiences where you really learn a lot, but you don't realize necessarily that you're learning. It would be open first to students who do meet established criteria. We could open to additional students if enrollment allows. And again, for these age groups, tying that HEB Counts in with the HEB Reads. So I know Lindsay has already given you guys a lot of background on John Hattie also, and so I'm going to just present it from a slightly different perspective. So just like Lindsay said, he has ranked many studies based on their collective effect size. And so not only, I need my hand so I can go point a little, I have the Holly Norgard in me. So if you look further into John Hattie, so once you get into this cornflower blue, I'll call it for now, those are those things that are have the potential to impact student achievement. But then he goes even further and gives like an indigo blue, and those effects are factors that have the potential to considerably accelerate student achievement. So when we are inviting these students to summer school, we're hoping that they are really considerably accelerating student achievement more so than maybe just having that positive impact. So when I was looking for some ideas for ways that we should build these courses, I narrowed down, and he's got a great website that I think Lindsay may have shared with you, but if not, we can definitely share with you all. And so you can sort by his criteria. So I sorted to look for ideas that were had the potential to considerably accelerate or just accelerate student achievement. And then I specifically looked at the curricula domain. So he also sorts his influence by, are they student-based, home-based, school-based? Well, home-based, or we can't control for that at a summer school environment. We can control for the curriculum. And so here are several of the things that I found, and I won't read them all to you, but they're just here for your perusal. So the mathematics problem solving, things that we already kind of know. And then there was one that I wanted specifically to point out to you. So the first page was considerably accelerate. These now are just curricula that will accelerate. And if you'll please look at the bottom of these two. So again, you'll see the comprehensive reading programs compared to just exposure to reading, the effect sizes are almost the same. So again, we see that just exposure to reading is so beneficial to our students. And so here's just a few more of the ideas that we wanted to take into consideration for the summer school programming. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Questions from the board?
You go first. Let me go for it. Okay.
Giving them the opportunity to go on some field trips is, at that age, it helps them get the wiggles out, not sit in school, in a seat 5 days a week or whatever. So I think that's a great idea. And they get to learn.
So two things. First things first, I love the idea of maybe perhaps, and you may have already thought of this, involving the community in any kind of activity you do as far as, getting involved. It seems like we do a great job as a district of getting our community involved in so many things, and then here now we're proposing an idea that maybe they could fit into in regards to summer school. And then I just preface this by saying I totally get this, and I'm in favor of it. But to play angel's advocate, have we looked at the benefit of not doing this, the benefit of just letting them have the summer off or not engaging them, because we're going to get pushback occasionally from parents in the community as to, hey, you know, those dots are really close together versus those that did summer school and those that didn't. I mean, what's your answer for that, Dr. Allen?
And I should have Holly or Conrad speak to this also. Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, I hope you're impressed by the data that she's digging up for us, because this is really an EdOps pet project that we've taken on now, and it is a lot of great minds thinking outside the box. But to answer your question specifically, we already know that a lot of kids will choose to stay home, as her data suggested. That we had a lot of kids that were invited that chose to stay home. But we're kind of looking at this as an initial pilot, and then how can we grow it from there? So to answer your question, Fred, kids don't have to come, but we have a lot of kids that we believe will benefit, A, just from the routine of having a place to come for a meal or 2 meals, depending on how we create the schedule. But also, the other thing that we're really trying to do, we're going to move away from the term summer school, and I don't know if it's going to be enrichment or academy, but we're going to rebrand this, because what we want to do is have some of our struggling learners get excited about coming to school and building a relationship with a teacher, and also some of our teachers who have a lot of things they want and love to teach, give them an opportunity to do that in the summer that looks a little bit differently than your normal classroom time. So yes, we want kids to have a good summer, but some of our kids, they need extra structure just because mom and dad also need that. Yeah. So any other questions I can help address?
If you go back to, it's her chart right there. The other thing is, you look at the very bottom in the red, summer vacation. We all talk about the summer slide. It has an effect size that is actually going to move the child
backwards,
further away. So it's trying. While we want to allow the kids to be kids, a lot of times the kids are getting out and being kids, are actually having events and opportunities. We're looking to build background knowledge on kids that aren't building background knowledge.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, as I learn more about this, it's kind of a perfect example of continuous improvement, because we're hoping that as we try something different, we know what we were doing wasn't working, so Plan, Do, Study, Act, we're coming up with a different plan, and then we're going to study that, and hopefully those dots start moving.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things our team is talking about, is how are we going to measure this, and how will we do end of school year versus beginning of school year, and Lauren and Holly are working on that. But what we do know is that it would be silly of us to keep doing the same thing that we now have the data to suggest it's not being as effective. The other part we want to consider later on down the road is how can we provide additional enrichment for any student that wants even a greater breadth of experiences during the summer, because that helps any student in our district. Right now, we're going to focus on our struggling learners, but we plan to expand over time.
Other questions?
I've got a question. Dr. Allen, when you presented previously, we found that there was no statistically significant, or it was not statistically significant between students who attended summer school who did not attend summer school, except for kindergarten math.
Yes.
Was there any, between 3rd, 4th, and 5th, reading or math, was there any statistical significance to attending summer school?
There was not.
Okay, so the only statistically significant impact we've had through your research on summer school is kindergarten math.
That was the only one that went in the direction that we wanted. And I don't want to lie to you now. There actually were, I believe, in reading in 2nd grade. I don't want to make it up. There was one where it was actually statistically significant the opposite direction, where students who did not attend significantly outperformed those who did attend.
We only had one that was a positive impact.
We only had one positive, yes. Yeah. So, and then also, Fred, to add to your question, this is something that I would also do a very similar study with, so that when we come back next fall, we can look at this and see, was this now successful also? So we would continue to do this type of studying and see, is this actually effective? Should we continue this also? So
Right.
that would continue.
And know my heart, I'm like with Chris, I'm looking for that silver bullet that moves it this direction, and I'm looking for us to, I know you guys are going to find it. So I'm cheering for you. I do get asked by parents that say, well, why should they go? And I'm just...
My gut tells me that if we change this enough and we make it fun.
Yeah.
And we add in all this other kind of enrichment and fun things to do, that by the next summer, we'll have everybody show up. That's what my gut tells me, because I know from my own kids when they were young, when we found a program that they loved over the summer, you had to be online at 6 a.m. the day that it opened to get them in the classes that they wanted because it was so popular.
And I will add to that too. Just another point to the research base. There's actually a fair amount of research that also shows that your traditional summer schools don't have a positive impact, whereas what we're going to look at this year are things that academic research has shown to have a positive impact. So I think that also speaks a little bit to we've been doing things that don't necessarily show there's any impact, and we're now moving towards things that have proven to work rather than.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add two things to that. One, the old saying that learning shouldn't be fun really needs to be done away with, because learning should be fun, engaging, exciting, and interactive. And then the next thing is our entire Ed Ops team is attending the Hattie training in a few weeks. And so we're looking at research-based ideas and activities. This is not just some crazy scheme we're coming up with. But on the flip side, we're also going to be innovative and creative to get our kids to come back and be excited. We'll have some growing pains. It will not be perfect this first go-around, but I'm willing to accept some imperfection to move the needle in the right direction over time, because we know in HEB we'll do the PDSA, and it's going to be great in a year or two from now. So I can't tell you the work that Lauren and Lindsay and all of Ed Ops are doing in Holly. They're really taking a deep dive, which is what we should be doing, and how we can help students learn. So any additional questions for Lauren or Holly or me?
As the part of the expansion, will it continue to secondary if necessary?
So we're going to, one step at a time. Because secondary has some very specific needs in terms of credit recovery, acceleration, things of that nature, it'll be a year or so before we do that, but I can envision where, at least at the junior high level, we're maybe looking at some things differently than we currently do.
I think this work is very important for the district, just because changing from a model that almost feels like a punishment for students to one that will help build confidence. I mean, we got to see tonight what confidence can do for our student ambassadors and for our thespians, and the kinds of students that kids become when they have confidence. So I think it's very important. So thank you.
Well, thank you for trusting us to be innovative and try something different. Thank you.
And thank you, Dr. Allen. All right, now we're ready for our special ed department spotlight.
Well, good evening. We are excited that we get to be the department spotlight, and it's my pleasure to introduce to you Tricia Demery. She is our district behavior and special education coordinator.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me come and speak to you tonight. I'm going to kind of give you an update on the state of behavior in HEB. And I have a clicker. So first I want to introduce you to our team. So we're the behavior squad. That's kind of what we call ourselves this year. There's myself, and then Jade Thompson. She's a behavior specialist, and Ashley Gray. She is a program facilitator for FOSSI PALS and ECSE. Jennifer Blankenship, she is also a behavior specialist, and Vanessa Riley, who is a board-certified behavior analyst. She is our autism specialist and expert. So when we're not in the classrooms, during the day, we're in classrooms pretty much all day long. And when we're not in classrooms, we are doing lots and lots of trainings, and one of the main trainings that we do throughout the year is safety care. Safety care is a kind of a two-part training. It is de-escalation and restraints. And it is an annual training for anybody that is certified in this to use it. Every campus is required to have a safety care team, a crisis team that is safety care trained. We have 6 trainers in our district for safety care. We have conducted 20 trainings this year. We have over 200 staff that are certified in safety care. So it's not just those crisis teams. We also certify all of our self-contained program teachers and staff. And we also have all of the 6 elementary campuses, all of their teachers and staff have received the de-escalation portion of safety care, and we continue to offer that because there is nothing better whenever there is a situation with a student who is upset to be able to de-escalate them verbally before it ever gets to a crisis level. We also have done conscious discipline and CHAMPS training. All elementary campus administrators have received conscious discipline and CHAMPS training, and then they take that training to their campuses where they train their staff and facilitate that on their campuses and kind of make that their own. We do pre-K training, and a little bit later you're going to see some of that data, why this is so important. We spend a lot of time in pre-K, and we do Behavior 101 with them. We have campus behavior assistants at each of our elementary campuses, and their role is so important. We could not do this job without them, and so they get training twice a month and in all things behavior, every area, so it's very important for them to have that expertise. Beyond the classroom, though, we found that it's really important that we start the day right, because when we start our day on the right foot, then we're going to have a better day throughout the day. And so it is important that the moment they're in our care, that our staff feel competent and they feel confident to be able to meet the needs of the students. So we have training for the bus drivers and monitors once a month, and as needed, we will ride the bus with those students and help facilitate any kind of conversation we need to have to support those students. Extended day is also where we do trainings with the managers and the staff to make sure that they know have everything all the tools they need to make sure that their end of the day, they go home happy and feeling loved and cared for. We do ongoing trainings for specific students there as well. We work very closely with DAEP so that we can ensure that any transition back to the classroom from a DAEP stay is a smooth transition. If there's any kind of extra support that we need to do, we try to make sure that we're there and we have a plan. And you know what? We have a wealth of knowledge in our school district. We think it's really important to empower our parents as much as we possibly can. So we have done restorative practices with parents, and we have an extensive online training parent portal so that there's videos and all kinds of information and tools that they can access so that they can be more proactive with their children. This is one of my favorite things. We do bagels with the behavior specialist. So what this looks like is the behavior specialist will work with the campus administrator to find a day that works best for their campus, and the behavior specialist will bring bagels, and they'll spend the entire day on that campus. And the teachers, during their planning or during their conference or lunchtime, they come. It's not required, but if they feel like they want to come, they come and they collaborate with the behavior specialist, and they talk about students and needs and stuff. And you know what has been the greatest impact of this is that the teachers just feel heard. They feel supported. They feel like they have somebody to talk to, and that has had just an amazing impact for those teachers. When we get behavior request forms, we do them through a Google form, and within 3 days of that request, we're out on the campus observing that student. And when we observe those students, we create behavior support plans. So once that plan is created, it is written up, sent to the campus, sent to the principal, the teacher, and then there's a discussion about what that looks like, how to implement, and we do classroom modeling. We attend staffings on progress and data, how they're doing on this plan, and if we need to make adjustments. And then we attend ARD meetings as necessary. So this is just one piece of the data that we collect from our request forms. And if you look at it, this is a pie chart, and you can see that the primary need is in elementary schools. And kindergarten, this is not uncommon. Kindergarten seems to be our biggest area of need every single year. But so this is, in response to this, we hired full-time behavior assistants on every elementary campus to help support the needs in our kindergarten classrooms. Now the second, this is different this year from previous years, is our pre-K, having a huge influx in the needs in their programming this year, but this is the first year of full implementation of full-day pre-K across our district. So we're seeing that need, and these 4-year-olds were in COVID. They didn't have opportunities to participate in social events, practice those social skills, so they're coming to school with lots of needs, and so we're intervening early, and that's a good thing. our interventions, our early interventions are working because we can see that as the kids go from pre-K to kinder to first, it becomes less and less the needs, the request for behavior support decreases over those time periods. And it's not just the interventions that we're doing, we're also getting kids in the right place, the right services, the supports through special ed or 504. So that is showing that all the way, and they mature. By the older the grade level, they also mature. And we're seeing that, and the longer they're here in our district, the more effective it is. Any questions?
Can you go back to the previous slide?
Yes, sir.
These are behavior requests.
Yes.
What qualifies as a behavior request?
The behavior requests that we have gotten so far this year, we've gotten 98 requests. And I was reviewing them the other day, every request includes some kind of physical aggression. They don't have to have physical aggression, but the 98 that we have received have all had some level of physical aggression involved.
So they're requesting support from the behavior specialist.
Mm-hmm. And this is district-wide?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so about 100 behavior requests.
Yes,
so
sir.
with those percentages, it breaks down to basically the percentages equal a behavior request.
Pretty much. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're looking at 20 behavior requests in pre-K, 26 behavior requests in kindergarten. Are we seeing these centralized in a particular elementary school? Do we have some?
It's not consistently. I mean, you might have one year it might be this campus, and next year it might be this campus. It's never consistent, so it's not any particular campus. No. Yes,
Yeah.
they do.
Any other questions?
No other questions, but just a comment. You guys have an awesome parent portal. I was perusing it, looking at everything else. Really good. It's got great resources and materials. Deanne, is there any way we can link that or can be easily found from our website? Because it's great, and I can't find any way to find it by searching our website. I just think this would be if you guys don't mind.
Not at all.
A
Please do.
fabulous resource to be linked out.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate all the support your team offers to our teachers, because we know that behavior issues can take quite a bit away from instructional time. All right, Mr. Johnson, college career and military readiness update.
All right, good evening, President Romero, Dr. Harrington, and board members. I am here to give you a CCMR update. And before I get started, there's a couple things that I need to say to make sure we're all on the same page. Especially, this presentation is going to be informative and then talk about some of our numbers. And the first thing that I want to say is this presentation is all about taking something that is extremely complex and trying to simplify it down without losing the essence of what it is. And then the second piece is we're going to talk about a number, but the most important thing that number means is opportunities for our kids. And so our goal is to provide as many opportunities regardless of the direction that our kids want to go, whether it be college, career, military ready, and we're trying to make sure that they have as many opportunities as possible and they can meet standard on as many opportunities as they have. So I just wanted to start out and say that. So strategic plan, goal 1, college, career, military readiness. The first thing to understand about CCMR is that there is cleaning of the data. Everything lags a year in the rear. So we're going to be talking about the class of 2022, and then at the end, I'm going to give you a preview of 2023. And so what does the cleaning of the data mean? State enrollment data, federal enrollment verification data, TSI, dual credit, College Board IB, military enlistment, which has now just come back this year, IBCs or industry-based certifications, and cumulative data disaggregation. So a couple things about CCMR. It lags in a year behind, just as I said. We're talking about the class of 2022 with this year's accountability. And typically, there is a raw score, but that raw score converts into an easy percentage. So a score of 60 is actually 60% of your students that are graduating meeting college, career, military readiness standards. And so raw score of 60 is equal to A. But as the 2023 accountability reset, just like Holly's been talking to you about these new item types, well, they're going to reset the whole accountability system, and they're not going to do it in a way that allows us to adjust on the fly. We're going to adjust moving forward, even though we're still playing the game. So what that means is this year's class, they will set the cut score in May when the accountability manual comes out. And so we don't know what that is going to necessarily be for sure until it comes out. Preliminarily, what they're saying is that the state average was around 65, and so 65 is a mid-C. So overnight, things change. So when we look at the raw score they're recommending a raw score of 88 versus a raw score of 60 previously, and that is what equals an A. So what that means for us is basically that they changed the accountability cut scores, and what we were previously a 57, which would have been a B plus, now turns into a D, and we didn't do anything differently. But the good thing about it is we're perfectly aligned for great results moving forward. So while this is a little bit concerning, we're in a great position. So it's important to know that we had 2 accountability changes with the formula, and they came in the class of 2020, and they came in the class of 2022. So we were reporting a 73 with the class of 2020. This included a formula change, which was the CTE coherence sequence. So as you can see, the class of 18, then the class of 2019, we got a half point per student who was able to go through our CTE sequence and matriculate through our program offerings. Well, with the class of 2020, they took away that point. They also took away military enlistment because of the way it was being used across the state. So that is the first time that we see that. Then, with the class of 2022, last year, about this same time in January, they released that they would be adding back, not just for a half point, but they would make that a full point for students who met and matriculated through your system with a coherent sequence. And then they brought back military enlistment, but that is something that they brought back this year. However, even though they told us that the CTE coherent sequence was coming back last year, they still didn't count it for the class of 2022. So the number that I'm going to give you does not include the CTE coherent sequence that they said they were going to give us credit for, because while it's great that they're going to give us credit for it, they had to figure out a way in which to calculate it. And so they have pushed that. Basically, they told us we were going to get credit for it last year, and then they said we had to push that back. And so we will get credit for it this year. And so that's why you see the asterisk right there. And so looking, just to kind of recap for the class of 2023, basically all the points come back. However, it will be harder to reach that A than it was in the past, because the recommended cut scores that they're talking about right now. So how do we know what's going on with our CCMR data? There's all this information, and basically we go back to the basics. We have a computation worksheet, and we're tracking these things. And so I just wanted to show you the overall, because I'm about to break it down piece by piece. And so we look at college readiness. It's important to think about college readiness being the indication of the health of our academic system. So if we do what we're supposed to do, from building that foundation from CK pre-K all the way up to 12th grade, then our students will be college ready when they take AP, IB exams. So this is an example of how we track the data for AP, IB criteria. And just a reminder, with IB exams, we're looking at a 4 or higher, and AP exams, we're looking at 3 or higher. And so, as you see, we're pretty consistent there. And that's good. We want to see consistency, and with a slight upward trajectory is what we're looking for. When we look at dual credit, this is an area that we see a great opportunity in the future to be able to offer opportunities for our kids, and not necessarily be locked into an early college program, so to speak. So we're exploring what our options are without locking ourselves in, and we're definitely going to see an increase there. TSI. With dual credit opportunities, students have to pass the TSIA test, which they can do it a couple different ways. They can meet criteria through SAT and AC overall scores, or they can take the TSI test and pass it in both reading and math, and this is the percentage of students. So this is an area that we are heavily focused on. And in particular, when we look at our English 3 courses and our Algebra 2 courses, when we're doing a great job in those areas, we're putting our kids on track because that's about the cutoff for TSIA. And so from a 48 to a 35, we got some work to do and some highlights with some things that the high schools are doing. They're looking at offering some of those tests to students as final exams so that they have opportunities. Here's another thing that is a little known fact with regard to TSI. If a student here takes TSI tests, we pay for it. If they graduate while never taking the TSI test and they decide to enroll in TCC, they're on their own. And so it really is no risk for our students. And we really want them to get an opportunity and take advantage of the opportunity to take the TSI test with us so that we can put them on track.
So that's not happening right now, correct?
That is happening this year.
But it has not happened.
Has not happened in the
Prior to-
past,
okay.
yes.
That's a great thing to do. Very.
So career ready. When we look at career ready, I have to sing the praises of Lisa and Deborah, Lisa Carr and Deborah and their teams, because these IBC numbers are phenomenal. The growth, and we're only going to continue to grow because they both set goals, and I can tell you, as we've tracked those goals, they are well on their way for more than 90% of students passing the test on the first time. So IBC improvement has been great, and we're excited about that. But I also want to bring attention to the CTE. What was coherent sequence, now they're calling it completing a program of study. Pretty much the same thing. These are students who are able to take our upper level courses, level 3 and 4 courses, so as juniors and seniors. So when you look at the class of 2020, that's 73, it was 1,010 kids that were counted in that number. Well, as soon as you take that away the next year, that's why you saw us drop down to the 57. And so we're excited to bring that back. And the other thing I want to just call out, when you think about evaluating and auditing the system. So you look at what happened in class of 18 and class of 19 with 31 students and 155 students. That jump in 2020 shows you that the system was being aligned during that time, and so to capitalize off of the 1,010 kids. So aligning the system, that is actually a year in the rear. That work would have started in 16, 17. And so that just goes to show how system alignment really does matter.
I have a question. Are we still doing the 8th grade pick a program of study?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then they complete the study and then they get the
Yes,
points.
and specifically one of the things that Deborah has done, she calls it C3, and it's really it's a night to bring parents in to show them what the opportunities are, because it's just like, my kids and your kids, when they get home, they don't always tell the full story. And so when we tell the parents what the opportunities are with the kid there, then there's no lost in translation information. And what she told me even just today was that the feedback from that has been great, and the parents love it. And so she's looking at ways to expand that and just keep ramping that up. So military ready. There's been conversation about the value of military enlistment to our community and the interest that some of our students might have. Well, I think this kind of goes to show that we have 64, 67 kids, and we had 32 kids in the class of 2018. That is a high number of kids that are enlisting in the military. And so when we consider future programming, military enlistment and JROTC programs are areas that we might consider. So the next piece I want to say is—
I have a question regarding that.
Yes.
So I see the NAs, that means because they're not doing it.
It wasn't counted. They pulled it out of the, because
But 23
basically—
it will be.
Yeah,
Are we doing anything with prep for ASVAB?
we are not.
We probably might want to consider that. Because that's something that would have been helpful for me. I had to take it and try to figure out how to take it and do well, but I think that'll help the students too.
I see Dr. Harrington writing that down, so I'm sure we're going to have a conversation about that. And then I just want to explain exactly what was happening with them taking it away. It was self-reported, and the accuracy of that, and then also trying to work with DOD in order to get the accurate data was really difficult for TEA, so they pulled it back, and now they're saying that the same form, which Conrad probably knows. Thank you. DD Form 4 is the exact form that they enlist with, and that is the form that we need to get a copy of in order for that kid to count.
And we have a process for that with
Yes.
Stacy. She's got a whole system now to get those back from students or the recruiters.
So a lot of data. What about our kids that are currently enrolled? Because really, we have to, the goal is to really start the work early as freshmen, and then you begin to, that number starts to increase. And really by the time you hit junior year, that's where a lot of the meat of the work is done. And then senior year, kids are continuing to earn their CCMR criteria, meet their CCMR criteria in multiple ways. So junior year is where they first really begin to get that check mark, and then senior year is how many checks can they pick up. So our current CCMR in progress as we near the end of second try is 53. And it's important to know that we still have a ton of kids that are taking AP exams. They're going to be they're taking dual credit, and so they're going to meet the majority of your seniors, if they haven't already met. They're going to meet in the second semester or third trimester for us as they near graduation. So that's important to note. So opportunities for CCMR improvement. We're bringing on welding next year for the 2023-2024 school year. And then going to be exploring JROTC in the future with no specified date at this point. We're going to continue to pursue dual credit opportunities with TCC and their partnership. They've been great so far, and we hope to continue that strong partnership. And then really stay in the course. Student achievement is our number one focus, and if we build a strong foundation, then our kids, more of our kids will be able to meet at least with the college readiness indicators, and then beyond that. So moving forward, we have started a partnership with Frontline Analytics. We use them for HR, we use them for our business ops side, and we are going to be using them for our student analytics side. And the really neat thing about the data that they're going to be able to provide, they're going to be able to connect our systems so that at the campus level, our campus counselors and our campus assistant principals will be able to filter lists by the kid, live data that was synced overnight, and have a conversation with Brandon because he's not CCMR met. And then when I become CCMR met, I'm fall off that list and they can run other reports and things like that. So we're going to work with them to put the data in the hands of our campuses so that they can have those meetings. And I just want to brag on both Trinity and Bell because they've already started those, and I think Bell is on their second round of one-on-one conversations, small group conversations, and Trinity is on their first round. And so by the time we finish the school year, we hope to have both schools have 2 rounds of conversations with kids. So really excited about their work, really appreciative of all of our counselors and assistant principals who are doing this work.
And let me just throw into the tracking analytics are really very important. Bob Knapp had to write very complicated programs just to pull the college side. We were pulling just the college side data, and it was a tremendous amount of work to have to do that and to write the programs. By getting these analytics, we can get all the college side and the career military, all that data pulled at one time. So that's going to be a much more effective use of his time and instant, immediate data for our administrators.
All right, any questions from the board? So just that I'm hearing it right, CCMR sounds like a great thing that they're measuring you for college readiness, career readiness, military readiness, but really all they're measuring right now and why our scores are going to be lower than what they used to be is because they're only really measuring college readiness, right?
Yep.
So in the next year, we'll get those other two factors back, which truly I think is a much better judge of having a well-rounded education system, is that you're getting kids ready for whatever path they want to take, not just college readiness.
Absolutely.
While I heard you say stay the course for AP and IB, I completely agree, but it looks like these percentages are kind of low in that, if I'm reading this right, in 2021, we had 30% of the students that took AP IB exams had the score that we were looking for. Is that right?
Is that 30% of all students or 30% of the ones that took the test?
30% of ones that took the test.
Okay.
So the number of students took the test are different.
So 70% of the students only scored a 2, a 1, or a 2.
That doesn't seem that. I don't think that's.
Go ahead.
I want to make sure I'm looking at this right, and I'm not sure if I am.
Not that that's wrong, but the way it's being said, I think, how do you want to?
I was just going to say, because you've seen in the AP and IB reports, we have higher passing rates than this. When you look at the counts, those are about 1,600 would be approximately our entire graduating class for
Yeah,
two
this is the
schools. So it's
entire
30%
Of
of
the
our graduating
class,
seniors
yes.
have passed
Okay.
an
That's
AP
much
and IB
better.
test, not our AP and IB
Okay.
pass rate.
Thank you.
Sorry, it's a
No,
lot
and
of the
I'm glad-
same words.
I'm
in
glad
it.
she came up because I didn't realize you were putting everybody together because I was
I
only
didn't know if I
talk-
was.
I've only been talking about seniors.
But let me clarify too, because of the way the scores have been, when we look at a score of about 60, the vast majority, that's 60% of all of the seniors have gotten their check mark. And because of the changes, most of those check marks were coming out of the college side. It's what Mr. Romero was saying. And so that's the difference in looking at that. Yeah.
So a kid who enlists in the Air Force, he has a path, he's going somewhere, he's doing something after high school, but he doesn't show up
Credit for that.
on any reports because we're not allowed to count him.
And they took away the coherent sequence, so that's coming back, but also the original industry-based certification list was just very small and very specific. And so we had programs that there was no, our kids may be testing, but the tests weren't part of what got you a check mark. And so the state's been tweaking that. Almost every year they come out with a new industry-based certification list. And luckily, we've been advocating, Lisa Carr has been heavily advocating with the groups that she's a part of, about to make sure that those lists include those certificates that are preparing kids for the next things they do in life. So that list has gotten better each year. We're still advocating for a few other programs, but originally that list was very small. So again, it gets back to the vast majority of your points were all coming from your college side.
And Ms. Cole, I just want to add one piece because it's on the horizon in the future. Many school districts give these tests, but there's very few school districts that provide prep opportunities leading up to the test. And so one of the things that we're going to be working on in the immediate future is how do we create this space for kids that are interested. If you're going to turn around and take the test, we want to give you a prep session closest to that test so that you can be successful. And so that's a piece that not a lot of districts are doing that we are ramping up to get ready to do.
Yeah, and I know we have a lot of AP teachers who kind of take that on themselves, and they do it, in their spare time. They have a lot of kids in because I know my daughter's been to those. So we really appreciate the hard work that our AP teachers and IB teachers put into getting kids ready. But
Alrighty.
So just one comment, I like the presentation, appreciate the information, but we don't want to just be chasing a number that the state gives us. We actually want to be preparing our students for college, career, and the military. And I would venture to say that we have prepared more than 53% of our graduating seniors for one of those three things. So, as big of an importance as the state is putting on this number, I think we should do our best to get our number to where we want it to be. But I also don't want us to lose sight of the fact that we are doing the work for the students to prepare them for college and career and military, despite what this number says.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Can I comment on that? And I appreciate that because we have said we will not play a game with kids' lives. And and I'm just going to say it. The reason they had to change some of these rules is because kids were getting paraded through programs to get a check mark, and the check mark was more important than the kid. And while we have to pay attention to accountability because we do believe that if we do what we're supposed to do, we should be achieving at that high level. But we are not going to put the needs of the check mark in front of the kid. And that's why we've been advocating so hard that the system needs to change to represent what is true success for these students upon graduation, not us sending them down a path to get an artificial check mark.
Yeah, we want 100% of our kids to have a plan when they graduate. Yeah, so. All right, 10.08, exam exemption process report.
All right. So I get to jump from exam exemption, from CCMR to exam exemptions. Probably one of the most discussed items in the community, and it always is. And so as I started out with the last presentation, I'll start with this one. And this is about how you can earn exam exemptions, not necessarily how you can lose exam exemptions. And so I want to start with that. Previously, in the 21-22 school year, we did not have any requirements, attendance-based requirements for exam exemptions. So students that met the grade of 80 or higher were able to receive 2 exam exemptions. With IB kids who took a total of 5 or more AP IB classes, they were exempt in the spring. And then IB diploma seniors were exempt in the spring of their senior year. So that was the previous. Currently, how we got to where we are, I want to talk about the process. So the first thing that I did was I just came in as a learner, and I asked informally the principals, how were things done before, what went well, what didn't go well, and so that led to me putting out a survey. The survey was very open-ended, and I just asked them, do you believe that we need to have attendance requirements, discipline requirements, or grade requirements? I didn't say what kind of attendance, what kind of discipline, what kind of grades. And so 80% of the secondary principals said that they believe there should be some type of attendance requirements. And typically what the 20% told me, and indirectly, was there are certain circumstances where attendance shouldn't matter. For instance, if a kid has cancer and things like that. So we have major health issues, they can't avoid that. And those things should be considered. That's what they said. With discipline, 40% said there should be discipline. Through further conversations, many of them stated that the discipline should only include DAP placements. And so as we had a discussion, we decided to add that piece in there. And then 80% said that there should be some type of a grade requirement. So I took this information to our EdOps team for review and feedback. And I came up with attendance, discipline, and grades. After the review and feedback from EdOps team, I then took it back to the principals and got their feedback, and we landed with what I'm about to share with you. So at the end of the first try, and we've already been through our first round, end of the first try, and the first semester for junior highs, So in order to get 2 exemptions, a student could have 0 to 2 absences, 1 exemption, 3 to 4 absences, and they would not earn any exemptions if they had 5 or more absences. Discipline. So students would not earn an exam exemption if they had a ISS or Crossroads placement, or they received an SOS or JJAP placement on campus. And then for grades, we maintain the same grade requirement from 21-22, which was an 80 or above in order to earn an exemption in that class. And so the spring trimester stayed the same. And so 5 or more AP, IB classes, all were exempt from all spring trimester exams that year, and then IB diplomas for seniors were exempt from their classes. And so then we talked about the golden ticket, and this is one of Dr. Harrington's favorite things. He talks about incentivizing the work that kids do in order to meet CCMR requirements early. So the earlier you meet your CCMR requirement, just one of them, you get a golden ticket that doesn't go away. So students who have met college and career criteria set based on TEA's calculation for that class were able to earn an exam exemption, and it cannot be taken away regardless of attendance, discipline, or grades. They get it. You get it, you don't lose it. And so that was something that was very exciting for a lot of our kiddos. And so all in all, that is an overview of kind of the process that we went to in order to go through iterations of our exam exemption process. And we were able to get through the first trimester and the first semester with junior high relatively smooth. We received some feedback from some of our community members. We received some feedback from some of our principals and staff members, and we'll review it every year like we do, and we'll make adjustments based off that feedback.
As I was reviewing and preparing for the meeting tonight and looking at this slide, on the discipline slide in particular, I was just a bit concerned about that as it relates to students of color, based on maybe biases that the administrators may have or the teachers may have that will lead more students to lose that exemption. So how are we working on making sure that doesn't happen?
So I will say that we've been tracking our discipline compared to our demographics, and that's a conversation that we frequently have over the course of 6 weeks in semesters. And so you bring a very interesting point that we need to dig into more.
Because it's all subjective, and they could lose a disciplinary an exemption because of one bad apple. Looking at them as if they were the bad apple.
Brandon, I have a few questions.
Yes,
I
sir.
did put this on the agenda. You know, I have 3 grandkids that were in 9th grade now, and in 7th grade when I went to all the games, no one knew I was on the board. And last year, very few, and this year, everybody knows I'm on the board. So these are questions from parents. First is, why do we have exemptions?
So we have an exemption. We have an exemption policy or guidelines so that we can incentivize kids behaving, kids coming to school because we get ADA based upon that, and also we want to incentivize their grade, their GPA.
Okay, how come there's only 2? You can only get 2 exemptions. How come you can't get 4 or 5?
That's a great point. Would you like us to look into that?
Well, I'm just giving you a question from the stands at Harrow Junior High.
This is interesting because this is the first piece of feedback about the number of exemptions, and so
Right.
that's something we can definitely look into.
Okay, if it's for attendance and they're absent, if they don't meet the recording period, which is second period, why does it count against them?
Say that one more time.
Okay, the recording for the state for our attendance is second period, right?
Yes.
Well, why do they lose an exemption if they miss 3rd or 4th if that doesn't count against our attendance?
So it's not just about attendance for funding, it's also about attendance for credit. And so if a student were to miss 3rd period several times, they would put themselves in a position to not be able to gain attendance for credit.
But what parents do, they told me, is they get their dentist appointment different periods,
in different weeks and different months, because junior high's, till Christmas. So they try not to miss the same class twice, so it doesn't count the 90% rule.
Yes, sir.
But then they're their second period, which counts for our attendance, but they lose an exemption. They don't understand that. And last year, I think it was a no-fault exam where you could take it, and if it helped you, it helped you. If it didn't help you, you didn't have to take it.
It's always
Still
that
that
way.
way.
Well, I'm not sure it's that way at every school.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, now they're not.
When my kids went to school, it was no fault. So
It may have,
Not
a
now.
lot of teachers will encourage them, but last year was, as far as requiring it to be no fault, I think was just during the pandemic. Yeah.
So clarify for me, what does that mean, no fault?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So I just want to make sure you heard Dr. Herring first. The no fault was only during the pandemic. That was because we were wanting kids, if they needed that extra boost or had been absent or struggling and wanted to bump their grade, they could have that. But also because of where we were in the pandemic, if they chose to do the exam and it hurt their grade, we didn't count the exam. So that was only during the pandemic that we did that. Not saying there couldn't be variation somewhere else.
I had a 16 and a 2020 grad, and they both had that. So I don't understand
And
why.
that could have been an individual teacher offering that kind of situation, or if they had any.
That's something that should be district-wide, not a teacher being able to do that, I would think.
Well, and again, I'm just giving, I don't know. I know we only mandated it during the pandemic.
Yeah, so that part I'm certain of, not saying that there couldn't be variation, but.
A lot of advanced teachers too will encourage them to still take the exam, yeah.
Say I have a ninth grader and it's currently no fault.
I'm a mean mom, and when my boys earned an exemption, they had, mom's rule was you had to take the test unless you had a 90 or higher. I don't care what the exemption said, that was my rule.
Sure. And so and I want to get out of Brandon's way here. I do want to clarify one thing, though, and this is, I think this is an important distinction. Exam exemptions are not something that you have. They're something that you can earn. You're not losing anything by being required to take an exam. Let's be clear about that, because when you go to college or you go to your job or anywhere else, you're going to have some criteria that you must meet. We do this because in previous history, and again, I don't have all of HEB history, but I know through years of conversations with Joe and other people that do exam exemptions, there has been some correlation to improved attendance. What we are seeing right now, which has caused us to talk about exam exemptions, is that attendance right now is a whole new ballgame since the pandemic, and we're not sure that that is correlated. But we do believe in HEB. That was one of the founding reasons that they did it, was to help kids get to school. And from my understanding, and I will tell you, having been in surrounding districts, HEB's attendance has been superior to most districts, especially when you look at the diversity of our students. So I think that's part of the history that I don't want to lose sight of, but that may have changed some in the last 2 or 3 years. In terms of funding, yes, second period or the time of day that we do funding, but that is we have always, in any school district I've been in, have always encouraged parents, please try to get your child here so that they are counted for funding, because that helps the campus, the district, and the kid. And yes, there is a level of being strategic about, hey, maybe I'm going to miss first period for a dental appointment, and the next time I've got an afternoon dental appointment, because that's only one absence in that class. It's not 2.
The dental appointments are every 6 months.
And okay, that's maybe only twice a year, right? So, but I do want to remind you that we've done this to try and help kids get to school, improve their academics. And we have reviewed it every year I've been here, and it's been tweaked a little bit each year. But that's why we're getting principal feedback and teacher feedback. And now I'm going to get out of Brandon's way.
But I think that if you miss that one class, that counts as one of your absences for the whole day. So if you miss 4 classes, 4 different classes, it's still 4 absences. I think.
Well, I'd have to.
Okay.
They run a report. I'll have to look at the criteria of how they punch that into the report.
Okay, and the other thing I like to say as a former educator, having gone through this at 3 different districts, is that if you have a no-fault exam, the people that are exempt may take it, and you get 3 more or 2 more or 1 more instruction day that you can teach them what you're supposed to be teaching them. And my question I ask teachers is, Brandon, what was your numerical grade in 9th grade English? So it's not it's what you got from that English class. Mm-hmm. And so all these kids are missing instruction days, where if you give a no fault and they can improve their grade, it won't hurt them. they may review and learn more in your class. And that's why I look at it as an educator. The other thing I look at, if I miss 6 days and I have a 90, I know the material. Why am I getting punished and taking a final? So these are parents, by the way. This is not me. And I try to explain it, but it's hard for me to explain it not knowing the details of what y'all are looking at and the way you did it. But parents are confused because of last year of the no fault. They're confused on the absences because they know that 1 period, 1 day is an absence. So if you miss 4, up to 4, you have 1 exemption. If you're gone the 5th day, you get none. Well, I think you should be able to do that in every class, not just 2. And I think we ought to look at those kids that are doing very well on the material. 80, questionable. 90 is pretty good. So maybe 90 should be exempt because you know the material. 80 should be no fault. I mean, this is what parents are so confused on this, and I don't know the answer. That's why I put it on the agenda, because I want y'all to get involved in getting it clearer to the principals and administrators on what we're doing. Like you just said, 1 for 1 class, they still get to take the final, but that's an absence for all the classes.
So a couple pieces. Number one, going into this iteration of our exam exemption guideline, the feedback from principals were, it is great to have all 3 of these pieces together. That was at the beginning of the year. As we get to the end of the year, we'll see if that holds when we survey them again and go through that conversation. There's another piece is the example that you talked about with regarding absences and that example with the 4 and the 1 and things like that. That gets very confusing. And so my suggestion would always be have them call me so that I can record that, because as
Well,
I'm
tell me so I
answering
can tell them.
Well, but it's if they call me, then I can understand their situation. I can look up their kids' situation. And then if it is something that is not clear, then that's something that I can clear up in the principals meeting and talk to them about communicating that out. Because sometimes the unintended consequences is there's a like he said, there's a level of strategery that happens, and sometimes there are things counted like the no count and or no fault exam, and things are implemented inconsistently. And when I know that, then I can address it and I can handle it. So I definitely want to get that recorded. So if you run across that parent again, have them reach out. Parents. If you run across them again, have them reach out. And then the third thing I want to bring up is this dialogue and this conversation has led me to know one thing, and that's that we could have done a better job in communicating, because there's pre-pandemic, there's pandemic, and now we're coming out of the pandemic, and
there's
absences,
one class or full day. There's a difference.
Absolutely, and so I own that, and that's a piece that I'll make sure we work on, because we relied on the communication coming from the campus, but sometimes it helps to have that extra layer of communication coming from the district.
Right.
And so we can definitely improve there.
All right, I need to piggyback on what he was saying, because now I'm not sure I understand. If I miss second period, if I miss from second period to fifth period, all right, I came to first period and then I left and I'm gone for 3 periods. Is that 1 absence for the day, or is that 3 absences for the class?
So let me make sure I'm right. I understand what you're saying. If you miss second through fifth period in one day, does it count as 1 absence or 3 absences?
Right.
It counts as 3.
Mm-hmm. It currently does.
Oh.
Okay, because it's 2 different.
So if you miss 1 day of school, you lose all your exemptions.
It's 2 different ways, actually. It counts as 3 absences regarding attendance. It counts as 1 absence regarding exam exemptions.
Okay.
Because you're absent for that day.
Okay.
Versus you're absent for those 3 class periods.
Okay.
For attendance for credit. Does that make sense?
That makes all the difference.
The number of absences are into a Cognos report that spits that out.
But if you miss 1 class, that's one of your absences towards an exemption.
Right.
Right. So
whether you miss 1 class or 3 classes that day.
What I've been told, if you miss the dentist for first period,
you've missed absent. Okay.
that's one of your absences towards exemption.
obviously, we're just getting clarification. I don't want to keep you or Conrad further, but go to slide 6, because I have a question about this one.
Which one is?
Okay, we're talking about spring trimester students who take a total of 5 or more AP. So first question is, that's in a calendar school year, correct?
No, the kids that take it in the spring semester only.
Oh, that take it in the spring semester only.
They're taking you're taking the AP/IB test, so you don't have to take the final. You're already taking a test on it.
Oh, I got you. So if you're taking 5 in that try only is what that says.
If you're loaded up like that as an advanced academic student, it is to your benefit that you don't take a final exam in each one of those classes, because the load on that is very.
Okay, I was just clarifying, that didn't mean you took 3 in the second try and 2 in the spring try that you're getting that exemption.
Because the real final is the AP or the IB test. It's not what your teacher gives you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's an accumulation of all the AP or IB tests classes you've taken first, second, or third try. All the tests occur, we'll just call it the month of May. So you may have taken 5 IB or AP courses through 3 trimesters. So it's not trying to take 5 the last trimester.
Right.
It's just when you're testing in the spring, that's when you do all the tests.
Right,
So
okay, but it is
5 or more,
accumulation
you're
of
completely
the
exempt.
year, okay.
Yeah, I understand the question. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, thank you.
I've got one more. Talk to me about the golden ticket. So if I take an AP exam in my junior year and I score what's the highest I can score? A 5. Have I earned my golden ticket?
So you
forever?
For one class, right?
Yeah, you've earned one, period. One. For each try, you earn 1 additional. So you can earn 3 if you are CCMR met. You earn 2 by the other criteria. You earn 1 by CCMR. The 1 stays no matter what.
Is there any AP classes taken in junior?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Do those count?
Yeah.
So let me repeat that question out loud. So if a student in junior high takes 9th grade, they could earn this golden ticket as well, right?
Yeah, we have a lot of kids that earn it in world history.
But I will, just for clarification, I will tell you that there are some tests that are offered in 8th grade that do not count for CCMR, because you cannot earn CCMR criteria without being a high school student.
Until 9th grade, I got you.
So I just wanted to clarify that piece.
So how is all of this communicated to parents? Is there a link somewhere?
Andy knows.
Besides Andy.
So it's been communicated through the campuses.
I feel like we need some FAQs. If your student does this and that, because if we need it, then certainly parents need it.
So, Brandon, so you mentioned that you specifically use the word guideline rather than policy.
Yes, sir.
So these are guidelines. Okay. Is it a district guideline?
Yes.
Okay. Do campuses have discretion in implementing the guidelines?
When it comes to a certain case by case, like we talked about medical, campuses have the discretion to, I wouldn't say forgive, but they can.
Do campuses have discretion to implement the guidelines in different ways?
Yes.
Okay. What are some different ways that you're seeing different campuses implementing the guidelines?
So medical. So for instance, you've got a student who is a football player and gets a concussion and has to go in for multiple follow-ups, and it might be out for even a couple days. That student's medical condition documented might be a case where the campus principal would not count that against the student's attendance.
Okay.
Well, let me ask, is your question more, are we aware of campuses interpreting it differently?
Yes. Are they being applied
And
differently
see, that's,
throughout our
I do
campuses?
not believe, because if we found that to be the case, we would intervene. As far as when we're hearing that they have intervened because of a specific situation, we're hearing similar, yeah,
calling
and they're
me.
coming.
Basically, what happens when they use that discretion is they call me, I go through a conversation with them, I asked them specifically about the documentation piece, and then I let the principal make that decision.
Okay.
With
Does,
guidance.
does an individual classroom teacher have any discretion on the exemption policy?
They should not. That you know of. That's why I said they should not. Yes.
Because if there's,
Well, it's gotta be documented.
But
well, but if they're saying you can't use an exemption in this class, this is not a class to use an exemption for. That's something we need to know about, because then the guidelines are not being followed uniformly throughout, not just the campus to campus, but classroom to classroom.
Correct.
Okay.
And I will just share with you, there have been a couple of instances where we have found that out, and we've addressed it, and it was rectified immediately, because the principal found out through the parent, and we fixed it.
So there's seemingly value in the exemptions based on your surveys with the principals at the secondary campuses for attendance and behavior. It would be interesting for Dr. Allen to look at something like this, because for years and years and years we thought that summer school was helpful to our students, and it wasn't. If exemptions were not having any effect on attendance, let's say you looked at the students who lost exemptions, did their attendance suddenly decrease, or did the exemptions have any impact on their attendance? The students who had lost the exemptions, did they then have more behavior problems? If we found out that the attendance and behaviors, the exemptions were not drivers to attendance and behavior, is there any value in still having our exemptions?
I think that's a great study, especially considering the unintended consequences of a kid doesn't meet that criteria in the middle of the try or the semester, and now what do they have to look forward to?
Or if they lose it within the first few weeks of the try, and then they're like, well, I lost it anyway, so.
I think that's a great study, and that's something
I think there's another similarity, is that we're approaching this whole topic as if taking a final is a punishment.
That's correct.
Just like summer school is a punishment.
Correct.
Yeah, so I just want to jump in one last time. I appreciate that question, Chris, because one of the reasons that we have talked often, and it was either Fred or Matt maybe said it, looking at an academic piece, whether it was an 85 or maybe it was you, Andy, 85 or a 90, because that's just kind of a clear cut. The student has the score, we know they're good to go, and that's that. But here's what's interesting. As principal, high school principal, I can't tell you how many seniors, well, after they left and went to college, how many kids came back and said, I wish we hadn't had exemptions. And I said, tell me why. Because there are no exemptions in college most of the time, and they said we were not prepared. Now, that wasn't usually the AP or AP kids, because they were taking hard exams, but it was our good old-fashioned kids going to our state colleges who came back and said, wow, I wasn't prepared that first semester. Not saying that that should be any factor that we do, but I think exam exemptions should be really talked about as to what's the purpose behind them. So let's get some data.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
Yeah. Any other questions?
You earned your dinner tonight, Chris. That was a good one.
That was a really good one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've had this discussion many times with my own kids, and I'm not a big fan of exemptions just because of that very reason. I think they create a sense of entitlement more than they create a sense of accomplishment, and just it's always something that I've fought with as a parent, just because I want my child to take the final, because I want to see how they do. I want to see what they really learn in that class. I don't want them to stop studying a week or 2 weeks before the end of class because they're like, I'm set. And even if they got a 80, I'm set. And I don't want them to say that's good enough. So I've always been anti-exemption, but I know that there's reasons to have them, and that'd be good to have that information to say whether or not they're a good thing overall for the district and for our students. So. All right. So we've been going for almost 3 hours. Does anybody need a break? Want to just push on through? All right. So action items, the annual comprehensive financial audit report for financial end ending August 31st, 2022.
Okay, board, Dr. Harrington, let's talk about something a little less complicated. The financial audit.
That's hilarious.
So.
This is just something that we don't get questions on.
Earlier this evening, you heard Ms. Hollander present the awards to the accounting department for the annual comprehensive financial report for 2021. So what we're going to present to you now is the annual comprehensive financial report for August 31st, 2022, which will be the basis for next year's award when we get it. And to do that, I have behind me Ms. Sarah Dempsey with our auditor, Weaver and Tidwell. Sarah, it's all yours.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Harrington. I'm happy to be here tonight. It probably is a little complex, but definitely nothing like what we've been seeing tonight. I'll go through the audit process, the audit results, the required auditor's communications, and then talk through an upcoming change next year. And then I'm here happy to answer any questions that you have about the audit. So for the audit process, we start in August. That's prior to your year end. We look at the internal control processes, make sure that they're operating as designed. So that's your payroll process, cash disbursements, construction, procurement, things like that. And then we come out in October and November, and that's when we're testing the balances that you have in that annual comprehensive financial report, 200 pages. Not all of it is given an opinion on, but that's the balances that we're testing. And then we're here in January, and we talk about issues throughout the year. You have a very proactive business office, and so communicating often. The audit standards that we look at are the government auditing standards and the generally accepted auditing standards. And then you have a single audit because you expend more than $750,000 of federal awards. We also test compliance with TEA's requirements. It's a risk-based approach, so we're looking for where there could be a material misstatement, and these are a list of audit areas where there could potentially be a material misstatement. This is where we're testing and spending a lot of time. Revenue, construction in progress, payroll, long-term debt, bonds payable, things like that. And so we're testing internal controls over the financial statements, but then we also go in and test the financial statements themselves. When we're out at interim, that's when we're doing those control walkthroughs that I mentioned. And then we're also doing the single audit. So this year we tested ESSER, IDEA B, or Special Ed Program, and Title I. That covered 60% of federal expenditures this year. We're only required to test 20%, but you have to test these large programs every 2 years. So this year we had to do 3, got 60% coverage. And then we also do compliance testing with the state, procurement card testing, and then controls over what I've talked about already with payroll and contract compliance. Field work is after year end, so that's when we're getting third-party invoices and vouching and making sure that the numbers that the district gave us are the numbers when we test and look at an invoice, a receipt, a confirmation from a bank, things like that, making sure that what they've presented is what those balances are. And then we express our opinion. So for the results, an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies are reported, and no non-compliance. So a clean audit. You do not want an exciting presentation for me. That's a good thing. For the single audit, those 3 programs that I talked about, an unmodified opinion, you're a low-risk auditee, meaning you haven't had material weaknesses in the past, not any findings. And again, with those 3 programs, they all went really well. No material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies to report, and no audit findings. So that's the best audit that you can have, and I'm happy to present that at the end of the evening. So for auditor communications, there's a list of things that we're required to communicate to you. I've said a lot of them with the auditing standards. No fraud or illegal acts were noted. There was the implementation of GASB 87 where leases were being recorded on your statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance, and then they moved to a balance sheet. So those liabilities were recorded, but they were offset with an asset. So you don't see a fund balance or net position impact with that change. We reviewed management's judgments and estimates and found them to be reasonable. We had no difficulties. You have a very proactive team, a very responsive team. Janice, Dana, we worked with them very closely under the leadership of Dobie, and I mean, everyone is just very responsive, ready to get the audit done and have us out of the way, because we ask for a lot of things, so we appreciate it. No audit adjustments, meaning when they gave us the numbers, we weren't testing and finding errors and having to adjust the numbers. So again, this is really the best audit that you can have. If I were here talking about adjustments and findings, it would be very difficult. And then next year, we had the leases this year. Next year is GASB 96, and so that's leases really for technology. So these subscription-based IT arrangements is what will be gathered this year, and those are usually going through as cash transactions. Those will move to the balance sheet as well. So pretty much the exact same thing that they did this year with leased assets. And then thank you so much to everyone, to the board. We are really happy to work with you guys. And I'm here to answer any questions that y'all have.
All right, any questions on the audit? It's always nice to have an unmodified opinion. So,
I agree.
so thank you very much, and thank you to the business team. It does a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, this is an action item, so I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve the new, oops, wrong one.
I move the board approve the annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ended August 31st, 2022, as presented by Weaver and Tidwell LLP.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the annual comprehensive financial report for the financial year ending August 31st, 2022, as presented by Weaver and Tidwell LLP. Please vote. That motion passes. Item 11.03, consider approval of update to 2022-2023 staffing table. Ms.
As
Tuttle?
you all read in the January 13th Friday update, we are coming to you tonight to request 2 additional units to go into effect for the 22-23 school year, both of which will be utilized in preparing heavily for the 23-24 school year. So we have one certification specialist, which is a clerical position, and one CTE teacher of welding over at the BCTEA. Any questions?
Any questions from the board? I'll accept a motion.
All right, try this again. I move that the board approve the new units as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the new units as submitted. Please vote. And that motion passes. All right, consider approval of notice, oh, sorry.
So we're gonna
11.04 and 11.05 have already been settled, so we will be moving over those. And 11.06, consider approval of attendance boundary adjustments. Mr. Streeter.
Yes, just a reminder that we presented this last session about Arbor Creek, and it was a total of 68 students. So this is on an action item this evening for your approval, so we can move forward with our plan starting tomorrow in our communication.
Any discussion?
And I don't know, maybe I missed this last meeting, but what is the reason that we're going from Arbor Creek all the way to North Euless and bypassing the closer two campuses?
I think that's a capacity issue, if I'm not mistaken. North Euless has the most room, and a lot of these kids on the overflow, we have a lot of students who live very close to Arbor Creek who are being transported elsewhere. It will allow them to come back next year, if that makes sense. But that campus really is only about a mile away, so it's only going to be a couple more minutes on the bus ride. did I address your question
I'm just
specifically?
saying, looking at the map and seeing that where those apartment complexes are.
It's
Hurst-Euless and Oakwood Terrace
It's
are.
capacity.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Just,
We have the room there. They have a smaller campus compared to Arbor Creek.
okay.
Any additional questions? Thank you.
All right, I'll accept the motion.
I move that the board approve the attendance boundary adjustments as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the attendance boundaries adjustments as presented. Please vote. And that motion passes. All right, we're ready for open forum number 2. No cards for open forum number 2. Other business, opportunity for board members to request items be placed on future board agendas. Anybody have anything this evening?
I have one item, and the item is a report on surveys that are provided to our students. I don't know if a number of you got questions about this. There were 2 articles in the Star-Telegram over the last month with Fort Worth ISD implementing an opt-in and an opt-out for student surveys. And I was given a couple of questions on this. Why doesn't HEB ISD do this? And I said, well, I have no idea what surveys we even give. I mean, we've got to have some sort of foundational knowledge of the surveys before we jump into something like that. So I'm not asking for a new policy. But I think it would be informative to know what surveys our students are getting from K through 12, and how either we're using that information or how third parties are using that information, and how we're choosing which surveys to give or not to give.
So just for clarification, you're asking about student surveys, not parent surveys?
My item is specifically for student surveys that are given in the classrooms.
That students are required to take?
Well, I don't know. That's part of the,
Yeah, because I mean, we know that there's the overall district that, you know, targets students and targets teachers and targets parents. I'm not aware of any other surveys, so.
So you're wanting to know the names of the student surveys?
Well, I would
Or
say
more
more than the
information
names. I would like to
See
some
data for the
context of
what the
what
survey is.
surveys are and why
Okay.
they're being given.
So-
I was a little bit surprised at the amount of surveys in Fort Worth ISD, and I wasn't even aware of any of them.
Gotcha. I'll
So
second
I would
that.
just like to know what we're doing here in HEB.
So it's really focused on what we're doing, not on why are not we not doing what Fort Worth is doing.
I have no interest in knowing why we do what we do as opposed to why Fort Worth does what they do. I just want to know what we're doing here.
And Chris, do you have a copy of that, just so I could see the article?
I've got 2. I'll send them to you.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, so that was seconded by Mr. Campos, so we'll add that to a future board agenda. We do not need a second closed session, is that correct?
No, sir.
All right, well, I will accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Any second?
Second.
All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Well, you know what you say when I say that.